Hey guys, Lev here from Agilite. We've gathered here today to do an AMA video. You have asked me a bunch of questions that I'm kind of scared to open, and I'm going to answer them to the best of my abilities, and I'm going to pick my favorite question at the end, and you're going to win a Subzero. This Subzero, in fact. So let's dive right in. How has the current conflict in Israel changed the way Agilite develops new products for the IDF and civilian market? In some ways, it has changed it, but in other ways, it hasn't changed it at all, if that makes sense. So like, the product development process is still the same. We still do the same research. We still put everything through the same development. The testing, instead of being, I'd say kind of more of the focus of the testing is in Israel now. It's kind of a no-brainer, right? When you have employees in Agilite who are going to combat on a weekly basis. Our testing coordinator, Yogev, right now is deployed up in Lebanon, so obviously he has gear testing with him. So it makes it a lot easier logistically to test gear in a war zone. I think the main difference for me though is just the fact that knowing that I could go to Miluim, go to the army for like literally 6 months at a time. So, and basically anyone who's a combat soldier who works at Agilite could just get snatched, go to war, come back in a couple months. You basically have no contact with them. That affects all the departments in Agilite. So that's like, that's obviously very difficult. But honestly, it just reinforces like we already knew why we're doing this. This just reinforces it. Seeing our gear every day at the front lines, at the tip of the spear, it's really great. We know where our gear is going. We know why we do it. We know why it's so important. So yeah. So how did I get started at Agilite? Okay, this goes all the way back to 2015. Me, Lev, I'm in the army. I see a post on Facebook in a Facebook group for lone soldiers, and it's looking for a Negevist, that's a Negev light machine gunner, who can help talk to designers, wants to be involved in the development and testing of an Agilite Negev plate carrier. So I said, hell yeah, obviously. I had some shitty plate carrier. They were giving us really awful gear back then in 2015. And I sent like a very cringy email begging to be a part. I don't know if they ever said yes, but I showed up at the office and I talked my way in and sat with the designer. We went over some sketches. We drew some stuff on the whiteboard, did some T&Ing, if you know what I mean. And we came up with, a couple of, like a sketch, an idea for a pouch. The designer designed it. Agilite produced it. And then I tested it in the field for, I'd say probably 6 months, something like that. Then I was in the Niud of 101, the Israeli 101st Airborne. So I was in their mobile Hummer unit basically, and it was great. Still did a lot of trekking, so I got a lot of good testing with it. So even back then, the end user feedback has always been a part of Agilite. It was a really fun experience. It was really fun to just, like, I had no idea that this industry even existed then, like of tactical gear. I was just like, okay, gear is something they give you in the army, or you make it yourself. That's it. Like, I didn't know there were companies out there already working on, making crazy designs and pushing the envelope. It was just super eye-opening. And after I got out of the army, I went to the founder and CEO and I said, hey, how can I work here? Are there any jobs available? He's like, well, you can go learn design and then you can work here. And I think he kind of forgot about it, but I didn't. And then I went back to the kibbutz, lived there for a couple more years, worked in a bunch of odd jobs. And then I went and started learning. I moved to Givatayim, which is near Tel Aviv in Israel. Started learning design at Shenkal College. 2.5 years in, I was working at a coffee shop on the weekend. Founder and CEO comes into the coffee shop and was like, hey, what are you doing here? I was like, oh, I'm working here while I'm studying. He's like, oh, what are you studying? I was like, design. He's like, oh yeah, why? And I'm like, because he told me to. And then about a week later, he called me up and called me in for an interview. And he was like, I thought about it, and maybe instead of making coffee for people in Tel Aviv, you can come and make gear for me. And that was that, basically. Started there part-time. Then COVID hit. In COVID, we started learning on Zoom in school, which is kind of dumb to learn design on Zoom. So I dropped out of college, decided I'm here for Agilite anyway, and I'm already at Agilite. Might as well go all in. And the rest is history. 4+ years, a lot of patents, a lot of award-winning products. And just I've had the opportunity to wear gear I don't know what I like more, the opportunity to wear gear that I've designed in combat or seeing other people wearing gear that I've designed. I'm still not sure which one is is more rewarding, but I love it. I love it all. I love being here. I love the team. And I love the snacks. If I were to battle the North American Bigfoot, and with the video it shows how to, what? If I were to battle the North American Bigfoot and with the video it shows how to adjust for fit and comfort, if a Bigfoot gets my rig and tears me up in little pieces and puts on my carrier and Bigfoot gets it adjusted to fit him, will he dump out my gear and put beef jerky in all the pouches? Just wondering, with all the ability to adjust it for personal fit. When I get back in the fight and get the carrier back on me and adjust to fit, do you want me to share the beef jerky or send to you? Or to share among your crew? Send me the beef jerky. All right, next. What did you change on your gear after fighting in Gaza? Any recommendations? So I would say during the fighting in Gaza, I changed a couple things up. I went in with 2 pistol mags vertical on my gear over here. I took that down to 1 pistol mag mounted at the side in Gaza because I have it set up for a machine gun setup, and I just was spending so much time basically sitting on the ground, like leaned up against a wall with my knees up like that it just was cutting into me so much, having that vertical one and cutting into pushing on my nerves and my legs. So I decided I would just carry 1 less magazine. I already had more than enough ammunition on me, so that was one thing I changed for sure. And after fighting in Gaza, I also added another grenade up here on the front on my plate carrier for Lebanon, just because you can never have enough grenades, and it's nice to have access to them from the front where you can get them with either hand. So for a company that works with a lot of mission-specific needs, how much of the average R&D input do you take from non-specialized questionnaire respondents? So, okay, so this is an interesting question because designing for mission-specific needs and making modular gear, they kind of cancel each other out. Like when you make gear that is modular and you understand what's the key features and pain points that are required for that gear, it's how you combine the gear together for a mission setup, if that makes sense. So like, for the question of how much of the average R&D input do you take from non-specialized questionnaire respondents, as far as we're concerned, there is no average Joe. It's super important for us to be humble and say, like, you guys are the users. You guys are the people who are going to be running our gear, are going to be putting it to the test. It doesn't matter, as far as I'm concerned, if you're in a tier 1 unit, or if you're defending your home, or if you're a cop. Whatever you're doing, you have your own needs, and we appreciate them. And basically all input given is gone over by designers who are basically trying to understand what is the use case scenario, what are people looking for, what specifically are you looking for. All right, Lev, hear me out. The year is 1917. You're Canadian. More importantly, you're Tiefel's Brigado. Tiefel's Brigado? Is that a book I need to read or something? What is that? And you're fighting the Germans in the legendary Battle of Vimy Ridge. I need to do some reading on Wikipedia. You hear the whimpering of hungry soldiers in the distance, and you think to yourself, I wonder how many more cans of corned beef and grenades I could have brought with me if I just had an Agilite Subzero plate carrier. But it doesn't matter, because by the time Agilite developed that masterful piece of kit, Canada did a bunch of other wild stuff, and then the Geneva Convention was created. So my question to you is this: if Agilite did exist back in 1917, what's the maximum amount of corned beef and grenades you could fit on a Subzero, and would the plate stop a bayonet? Asking for a friend. So, just because something is ballistically rated doesn't mean it's rated for stab threats or cutting threats. Those are very different. Different materials, different requirements. Ballistic threats is all about capturing an object, flattening it out, and then dispersing the force. When you have something like a bayonet with a German soldier behind it stabbing into you, that could very well go through like a polyethylene plate, definitely some Kevlar, soft armor. You're fucked. Also, this isn't a plate carrier for you. You should get a K0 and a Warfighter cummerbund and load that sucker up with grenades and corned beef. What's your favorite piece of Agilite kit and why? I mean, if I had to say the thing I use the most, it's probably the inner belt that I'm always wearing. But favorite piece of Agilite kit and why? Actual favorite is probably the K0. K0 was my first big product here at Agilite, and it was really fun. It was so much to do and so much to work on. And I learned so much from the design process and the testing process, and I went to a bunch of really fun units to test it with. I kept units rotating through the field. I learned a lot from the process, a lot of stuff that influences current designs today, and I'm very grateful for the ability to work on a product like that. Lev, can you share a specific instance where user feedback directly influenced a major design change in one of your products? And what's your vision for the next evolution of the Subzero plate carrier in extreme environments? A design change. So that's interesting because end user feedback influences everything we do, right? Like it's a critical part of our design process. We don't design gear just because we think it's necessary. We design gear because you guys think it's necessary. I mean, when we were designing the magnetics belt, we knew right off the bat that the alignment was the #1 biggest issue. And then after that, comfort and load bearing capability. So that was the main challenge. So everything we did was based on that end user feedback from the beginning and saying, okay, alignment is the #1 issue. How do we solve alignment? Instead of just making a belt and saying, how do you put it on? Saying, how do you put on a belt? And then making the belt to figure it out like that. So that was a big challenge. That was fun. That was 8 months of my life, and I wouldn't give it up for anything. My question is, as a person whose primary focus is self-defense and home protection, should I even invest in a plate carrier? I mean, look, I want to say the easy answer is like, yeah, you should have a plate carrier. You should have the best ballistic protection you can afford. With that, if you can't afford it, don't get it. Like, there's more things to life than investing in products. You can be investing in skills. You can be investing in yourself. Like, if you can afford good gear, get good gear. But there's other ways to be prepared. There's just that your skills. You know, go out and shoot. Go out and do some training. Like, and also, it's more important to kind of, like, sometimes we get so caught up in this, like, one scenario of someone breaking into my house to attack me. There, you know, quality of life and survival is, in a modern world, is such a wide thing. So, like, it could be that investing into your savings is going to pay off down the road and protect you and your family and support them better in 10 years than a plate carrier now. Maybe if you're already saving money and if you're stable economically and you have the money, for sure, get a plate carrier, right? And get the best plates you can afford, and get plate carriers for your wife and your kids and your dog. Your cats will be fine. But yeah, I mean, it's just a personal question. What's your budget look like, you know? Because you gotta be responsible. You gotta be a responsible adult, and you gotta take care of your family. How do you keep your beard looking so good? First of all, I cut it myself with scissors and a comb in the mirror. I watched a YouTube video on it when I was in the Army, like in regular service. Basically, you just comb down, comb up, comb down again, and then you go and you cut off everything that's not the final shape you want, and you just keep doing that. So you basically looking for outliers, and you cut those back, and then comb it again, and then a different one's poking out, cut that one, keep doing that, and then trim up on the mustache from either side, and then just any beard oil, like really literally anything, just to keep your beard from itching. And then after the shower, just get that beard oil and just comb it a little bit. That's it. But kind of when you're in the field, for whatever reason, it just kind of balances out, and then after like a week, it stops itching and you're just good forever. Question for the AMA. I know soldiers who mostly trust their equipment because they believe it was made by the best designers. Do you ever doubt your own designs? I don't mean this offensively, but are there ever moments when you get skeptical because it's your design and you must trust yourself? Secondary question, dude, how the hell are you supposed to poop on an urban battlefield like Gaza? Do you just find a nearby toilet in a ruined building? Hoping for a personal story on this one. Let's start with the poop. Always like to start with the poop. The, you know, best case scenario, like obviously the dream, right, is you find a virgin toilet unpooped in that still has water in the reservoir, and you just use it, you know? You make it your own, and then you leave it behind afterwards. Whether or not there's been enough water to flush, it is what it is, right? But more commonly, what you're gonna be doing is finding a plastic chair. You're gonna be cutting or smashing a hole in the bottom of it. You're gonna, if you're really, you know, investing in yourself and in your health and your future, you're gonna duct tape around that edge so that you're not cutting your nether regions when you're shifting around, trying to get in position. Then you're gonna take a bucket, put it underneath, trash bag in the bucket, poop right into there. It's very important to pee first. That's one of the #1 skills I learned in combat is when you need to poop, you go and you pee. You force yourself to pee, and then you sit down to poop. This is something you can practice already at home. Basically just go to the bathroom, and you gotta sit down. You wanna just let everything out at once? Don't. You're gonna stand up, you're gonna pee like a man, and then you're gonna sit down and you're gonna poop like a man. So then you just tie off the bag, throw it out the window, someone else's problem. All right, so the first part of the questions. So this is super interesting and kind of the difference between just being a one-man show, making your own stuff, producing your own stuff and selling it versus being a part of and having a hand in shaping a, you know, top of the line world level design department is the fact that it's not like nothing is based on the skills or abilities of a single person. There's a whole process here that has safeguards, that has checks and balances. There's a long process that starts with the T&E program and then very humbly approaching the design. And then along the whole way, we have people whose whole position is to be testing coordinators and to coordinate field testing with units, internal testing, and we have all kinds of protocols set up so that a designer can't just push their design through. It doesn't work like that. And a designer doesn't want to push their design through. A designer wants to meet the design brief. A designer wants to achieve the product that they set out to design. So sometimes there are moments when a designer can maybe second guess themselves, myself included, and that's perfectly fine because it's totally fine to second guess yourself, you know, up into a certain stage, and it's good. You want to have doubts about a product because you want to test those doubts and you want to find out, does the product perform? And that's why we send gear out for testing. That's why we do testing with the units that we work closely with in Israel. That's why we do so much internal testing. We have a treadmill in the office, and we just, you know, if you sew a new shoulder strap for a K0, go test it out. You know, like it's good to doubt it. If you're not doubting it, it means that you don't really care if it works or doesn't work. All you care about is the aesthetic of it. And that's not how we work here. Ultimately, it's really important, and all the designers here have this in, you know, at the forefront of their mind. It's super important here to remember that all the gear is going out to battle. Like any product designed here is going to be tested in a realm of combat, whether it's in Ukraine, whether it's in Israel, anywhere. The world is at war, and any piece of gear we design is gonna have people trusting it with their lives, and it needs to perform to that. So if a designer says, yeah, I kind of like it like this, that doesn't matter. What matters is if it works like this. So that's, I think, enough of an answer. What is the most embarrassing thing that happened to you while wearing Agilite? First of all, I'm always wearing Agilite. I got that inner belt always on me. So everything embarrassing that's ever happened to me in my life has been while wearing Agilite. But there was a time when I got my foot stuck in a door trying to kick down a door in Gaza that we were searching, and just got my foot stuck in the door, and it took a while to get it out, so that was a bit embarrassing. Training better than gear. This being pretty much universally agreed upon in the tactical community, what do you believe is the minimum and which pieces of gear for this statement to be accurate? What I mean is that you need the bare minimum to be effective. What is that in your opinion? Keep up the good work. Thank you, Falcon Claw. Love you guys. First of all, keep up the good work, you guys, everything you're doing. Love your channel. All right, so this is an important point, and I think it kind of all comes down to you need the gear for what are you doing with the gear? What's the end result? If you're defending your bedroom versus defending your yard, that's even that is a different thing, right? Obviously, everyone should have armor, but if you can't have armor, does that mean you can't do anything? Like you always, it's kind of like it's when we're designing. Sometimes there's like there's an exercise you can do in design where you say, okay, this is my product. It has all of these features. Let's take one away. Can I still do it? Okay, let's take one away. Can I still do it? Let's take one away, and to see kind of how minimalist you can get, because like sometimes you don't have a choice, right? If you go out backpacking and you bring a tent and a water filter and a mattress and this, and now you have a puncture in your air mattress, okay, are you going home or are you going to continue and find a way? So like, I think it's the training is always there. You need the training. And if you have the right training, you can make do with very little gear or no gear. But yeah, gear helps, obviously. It's an equalizer. When is the Reaper rig going to be available? End of February. Keep your appendages, it's coming. What sort of compensation, if any, does Boomba get? Does he have a retirement and health benefits? I assume you're referring to our non-consensual plate holder for target practice. His main compensation is mildew and bullet fragments, and he likes it. The two-part question. 1, I noticed that you ride a motorcycle. Was wondering what type. 2, what is your favorite place to ride? Yeah, I ride a Royal Enfield Interceptor 650. It's super nice. I like it a lot. It's very basic and kind of analog, like a mechanical watch. It doesn't have like it doesn't have a lot of like amenities. It doesn't have like a gear indicator. It doesn't have different riding modes. It barely has a functioning gas level indicator. It's just really fun. You just kind of have to feel as you go and ride. I've taken it crazy places. I really enjoyed when I was stationed up in the north recently, riding all the way from the center of Israel up to Mizgavam in the north. That was super fun. I like riding through the Bekaa Valley, and I like riding up Route 90 in Israel. It's super nice. It goes along the Jordan River and kind of the border with Jordan all the way down to Eilat. Super fun. What are your favorite lickies and stickies, candies / morale boosters and such? Are you never without? What country is this normal to call candy in? Like that's lickies and stickies means something else in the IDF. Let me tell you that, you know.
What's your favorite snacks to go with?
Cigarettes. How does it feel to go to war as a civilian? It's both easy and difficult to just make that switch and draft into reserves. It's like super easy because I love being in the reserves. It's I love the guys I'm with. It's a lot of fun, you know, jump back into it, kind of relax, disconnect from work a little bit, do a little bit of war, you know, all that stuff. So on the other hand, what's more difficult is like on the first day when you join, like I'm always coming from work and I'm like super high paced and a million projects going on and I gotta, you know, get to the next task and finish this and do this and do this and do this and you're always out of time. And then you get to the army and it's like, okay, now wait. So you just gotta like hurry up and wait and, you know, you draft and then on the first day you go to a range to zero in your gun and then it's like they don't have ammunition or an range officer or staples or targets or whatever. So it's like just that switch of pace to like, oh my God, everything takes forever and there's nothing I can do to make my life faster. But other than that, it's great. You know, like it wears you down after a while. Like it's definitely a lot, like doing like 4 months of reserve duty straight or something like that. It makes it really difficult to come back to work. And it makes it difficult obviously at home. But you know, the guys in the US going out and doing like 6-7 months deployments, that's a lot more difficult. So everything is relative. Israel's a small country, so you can, you know, get a couple days leave and just go home. Which obviously if you're overseas somewhere, you can't do that. You know, we're a small country. You really feel like you're fighting for your home. Because to drive from like my house to Gaza is like, I don't know, an hour 20 minutes. So it's pretty close. Everything is. So that's that. I'm part of testing team 11 in the T&E program. Where can I get a prototype? It's a huge problem. And I really want every single person in the T&E program to be able to get a piece of gear and test it. It's very, very difficult, but we love you. We're so appreciative. There is a solution. We're working on it. Stay patient. It's coming. Hey, Lev, what was the hardest lesson you learned in combat that you now apply to your work as a designer? Use hand sanitizer after you shit. What was the hardest thing you had to do in this war, and which part of Agilite equipment did the most to help you ease the struggle? I think one of the hardest thing was just kind of waiting. Like after the 7th of October, we waited. Like we went and joined up in Miluim and got our guns and then waited and then waited and then we went to Kfar Aza and we waited and we waited and they moved us up north and we waited and we waited and we waited and we waited until we finally got a piece of the action and got to go into Gaza. And then after that, we waited for months and months and months and months, went back to the office, back to civilian life, waited, and finally the conflict with Lebanon started, and then we waited and waited and waited on the other side of the fence, and then finally went in. So just waiting. Waiting sucks, but you just gotta be patient and know that like you have almost no say in it. You just gotta, you know, what will be will be. What part of Agilite equipment did the most help you ease the struggle? I mean, honestly, the QDs on the K0, just because when you sleep with a plate carrier on, it's so nice to just open it up, go to sleep. Like, obviously you can do that also with Velcro, but when you have like just, you don't know how long you have to sleep, just click, open it up, fall asleep on the floor in some random house, and get back up, click, you're ready to go. That was great. Quick question, Lev. For the young infantryman experiencing hardship for the first time, do you have any tips for unwinding and dealing with stress? It's often overlooked, but recovery is important for good performance. Love, Subzero gang. I know who you are, and I love you. It depends what kind of stress you're talking about. Like, there's like regular stress, like you're just working a lot, you're not sleeping enough, stuff like that. And then there's like traumatic stress, where you have to actually sort of process it in some way and talk it over and make sure that you're, you know, I think one thing that helps for like traumatic stress is not being alone with it. So like meeting back up with your friends who experienced the same thing with you, talking about it with them, kind of gauging, looking out for your friends and kind of talking to them, engaging their response to even talking about the topic, because it could be that it's something that like you are thinking about and it's really weighing on you and you think about it a lot, and you think that it's like embarrassing because you're blowing it out of proportion and you're remembering something in a different way than no one else will. But then as soon as you talk to a friend about it, you realize that they remember it the exact same way and it's affecting them the same way, and that you're not a weirdo. You probably are a weirdo, but you're not a pathetic weirdo. So stuff like that is very important, to talk through things, and you know, just don't be embarrassed and write things down. Keep a journal. Write everything down that happens to you in combat. It's a very good way of kind of processing stuff and kind of just passing it on. Like, you wrote it down, you release it, you know? Stress in general, unwinding in general, basically just enjoy it. Like, anytime you experience hardship and fight through it and continue, just know you've had like an experience that not everyone gets to have. Every time you do a crazy ruck in the army, you walk a crazy distance, you do something insane, just remember that like you're a man among men, you know, you're doing something different. And hardship it's a privilege, kind of, you know, to be able to experience it. You've put yourself out there and you're reaping the benefits, and some of those benefits are the hardship itself, and you being a different person than you were before you went through something. So just enjoy it, man. I got the K19, so comfortable. I can take great power naps because if I'm in the shit or even around it, I want something I don't want to take off. My question is, laying on your mags on your belly is laying on your mags on your belly in the Zero as comfy as the K19 or more comfortable? Much love, 12:13 a.m. Las Vegas. So happy Hanukkah and Merry Christmas. Randy G, the Turtle Williams, P.S. The Turtle definitely slow. That's why I like our rabbits open up some targets for the Turtle O and some ladies like a slowpoke. What? Yeah, it should feel the same, but whoa. What's the best lesson you've ever learned about leadership that stuck with you, either in your military career or personal life or both? I think a lot of what I learned about leadership wasn't necessarily I did learn a lot in the Army, but I think I learned more after the Army, working in like all these little jobs, like working in a kitchen in the food service industry, working, installing, fixing air conditioners, working, doing remodeling, all kinds of stuff. We're just kind of, anytime you're in a position where you realize that you can't improve your position because the person above you isn't listening, always made me say, like, once I am in a position of leadership in a company somewhere, I'm going to listen to the people under me and stay humble and look for a better way always to be doing things. That like drove me crazy, that I would be like at the bottom of a ladder and my whole job was to hand tools to the guy at the top of the ladder. And I'm like, why don't you just put on a tool belt? He's like, nah, we don't do things like that. So like just dumb things like that. What I learned about leadership in the Army was just looking at my like officers and just saying, holy shit, that looks like it sucks. Like, I'm not sleeping and this guy's sleeping less. Like, whenever we stop moving, I go to sleep. Whenever we stop moving, he starts talking to the other officers and getting shit ready and looking at the navigation and going over with all the NCOs, all the stuff that needs to be done. I was like, damn, that sucks, but it's still very cool. What are the differences in the K19, Subzero, and the K0? Trying to find my next chest rig, but don't know which one to choose. Basically, the K19, tried and true, it's been at the front lines of a million conflicts, whether it's here or in Ukraine or any other number that add up to 1 million. And it's got kind of wider shoulders. It's got a ton of padding. I personally prefer the K0. The K0 is meant to take all of the comfort and performance features of the K19, scale it down, the same amount of coverage, same amount of armor, but give you more modularity, give you better breathability, more modularity, just more adaptability. sleeker profile, lower profile. The Subzero is really just your minimum. The Subzero is saying, I want to carry 2 plates, I want to do it comfortably, I want to have it be low profile, and I want to be able to get in the fight. I would say K0 as the base. Subzero is great to have as an extra. Keep it in your trunk, give it to your kids, keep it in your kids' trunk, keep your kids in your trunk, and keep it in the car seat, whatever you want to do. Have you got letters from line guys using your apparel, and has it saved them? I assume you mean people on the front lines and not like electrical repair guys repairing power lines. So yeah, for sure. Like people reach out to us all the time on Instagram and just reach out through the units here in Israel and say I got shot while wearing a K19, I got shot while wearing a K0, I got shot in the side plate. We have units that switch to using side plates with our flank hard carriers, and literally like weeks after that have soldiers who were shot in the side plates and survived. So it's like, it's very important. It happens. You know, you got to have good armor. You got to armor up, and it's tough to strike that balance between saying like, I want more and more armor, but I also want to be mobile. I don't want to die of heat by wearing like neck protectors and shoulder protectors and stuff. But yeah, it's always a good reminder where the gear is going and kind of the importance of everything. So it's always fun when one of those guys reaches out and just, you know, sometimes we've gone to visit people in the hospital and given them new plate carriers and stuff because their plate carriers are all torn up. Because oftentimes if you get wounded, the medics are just going to cut everything off of you and just destroy it in the process. So that's always it's always humbling, and it's always reminds you kind of why you're doing it and what it's all about. My wife wants to know what product you use on your hair. It's very slick. That's bull semen, uncastrated. I live next to a farm, and I just stick my head under. My wife wants to know what product you use on your hair. It's very slick. Literally nothing. I wear a motorcycle helmet. That's it. Is there a time in your career or experience that specifically impacted your thoughts or designs on a product? That's literally my entire career and or life experience is about design. So everything, I guess, like I've been designing shit since I was a kid. My mom used to get me a roll of duct tape and a ball of the colorful string that people use for marking out job sites for my birthday every year, in addition to like other things. I mean, I feel like a lot of you guys probably connect with this also. I've just always been designing shit. Like every piece of gear I've had, I've tried to modify it in some way. When I was a kid, we'd, you know, make swords out of pieces of wood and like duct tape things together, make traps, make our own gear. I've been very interested in design. Always. It's kind of in my blood, I think. So, you know, swimming around there like a virus. Why do we call it taking a dump when we're clearly leaving it behind? The real dump isn't the dump we take or leave. It's the dump we make along the way, if that makes sense. It's the experience. It's like taking a photo. You're capturing this experience forever. You guys should do Finnish Brutality. Love you. Love you too. Wef, 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 wef. Yeah, I would love to do Finnish Brutality. I say that every year, but I actually think we'll do it this year. I also want to do the Polish Light Infantry Challenge, either with one of my designers or with Shai or with someone else from the company. I think it'll be really cool. I'm down. I'm 100% down. Let's do it. As a huge fan of your gear, I've always admired how Agilite products balance cutting-edge functionality with real-world practicality, ensuring operators get the best possible edge in the field. I can't wait to hear your perspective on some of the hot topics in tactical gear today. In an ever-evolving landscape of tactical innovation, how does Agilite prioritize which features or advancements to focus on when designing new gear? Is there a specific feedback loop or testing process with operators that has directly inspired a design breakthrough? Additionally, how do you balance the demands of high-performance gear for military personnel with the growing interest from civilian and recreational users? So, I like to start from the end with stuff like this. So, how do you balance the demands? I would say that the growing interest of civilian and recreational users, it's the same interest, it's the same needs as high-performance military personnel, just at a different scale. So if you're, which kind of almost goes through the entire food chain of the military, right? It's like, if you're in a tier 1 unit, you're going out and doing raids every week or every couple days, and you're going out and planning these missions. And if you're in a tier 2 or tier 3 or whatever unit, you might be doing some similar missions that are just a little bit less sexy, and you're doing them less often, and you're doing a bunch of non-sexy shit in the meantime, and just carrying a bunch of shit from point A to point B. But it's the same basic demand. It's the same function for most things. Obviously, you get to like specialty items like scuba diving gear and rappelling gear and all kinds of stuff like that. And then some of that is no longer relevant to civilian and recreational users. But the basic issue of protecting yourself while carrying gear and staying mobile is the same. How do we prioritize features or advancements to focus on? So we kind of try to strike a balance between bringing out the things that people have been asking for and are specifically asking for, and kind of taking a bold step into the unknown and bringing out market makers or pushing the development of things that could pay off in the future but might not work out. So there's a lot of projects that just never see the light of day because we try them out, we put a lot of push behind them, and then we see this doesn't work, this doesn't make sense, no one needs this, and then we scrap it. So how do we prioritize features or advancements? I would say the T&E program is probably the most critical part of the puzzle for this, because we try to stay humble and listen to the T&E program and say and let people who are, you know, actually out there doing it tell us what they're looking for, and share their ideas, share their hopes and dreams with us, and it's just our job to try and meet their expectations and help them out. My favorite question is the question for the AMA. I know soldiers who mostly trust their equipment because they believe it was made by the best designers. Do you ever doubt your own designs? And I like this one because it also had a second part about shitting in combat. Combines my two favorite topics, which is shitting in the field and design. I love design, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do. Congratulations, Admiral Duffy 6894. You're getting a Subzero. This was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. Let me know down below if you think we should do this again, and if so, what questions do you think we should answer next time? Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe. Go design something.